Good evening. We begin tonight with breaking news out of downtown Los Angeles, where emotions have reached a boiling point. The city is on edge after a series of controversial ICE raids earlier this week, sparking outrage and fear among local residents and immigrant communities. In response, hundreds of demonstrators gathered in the heart of the city, determined to make their voices heard and demand accountability from federal authorities. As the night unfolded, the protest quickly escalated. Demonstrators, many carrying signs and chanting slogans, confronted a heavy presence of federal officers deployed to maintain order. The atmosphere was charged with frustration and defiance, as protesters called for an end to what they described as unjust enforcement actions. The standoff grew more intense as both sides refused to back down, and the city's streets echoed with the sounds of shouting and sirens. Live footage from the scene captured the moment when tensions erupted into chaos. Protesters hurled stones and debris at a line of federal officers, who responded by tightening their formation and preparing for possible escalation. The standoff lasted for hours, with neither side willing to yield. Tonight, Los Angeles finds itself at a crossroads, as the community grapples with the aftermath of these dramatic events and questions what comes next.
Under the harsh, flickering glare of emergency lights, the city's streets became a stage for a tense confrontation. A determined crowd of protesters surged forward, their faces illuminated by the red and blue flashes, voices rising in a chorus of demands for justice and change. The air was thick with anticipation and anxiety, as people from all walks of life pressed toward the imposing physical barrier formed by federal officers. The officers, clad in riot gear, stood shoulder to shoulder, their presence a stark reminder of the power and authority they represented. The crowd's energy was palpable. Some held signs high above their heads, others locked arms, united in purpose. The night was alive with the sound of chanting, the rhythmic beat of feet on pavement, and the distant wail of sirens. Every step forward was met with resistance, but the protesters did not waver, their resolve only growing stronger as they faced the line of officers. Authorities responded swiftly and decisively, reinforcing their line with precision. Shields were raised in unison, forming an unbroken wall of polycarbonate and steel. Batons gleamed under the streetlights, gripped tightly in gloved hands, ready for any escalation. The officers' faces, partially obscured by helmets and visors, revealed little emotion, but their body language spoke volumes, alert, tense, prepared for confrontation. As the crowd pressed closer, the law enforcement formation tightened, each movement practiced and deliberate. The standoff was tense, a silent negotiation of wills, as both sides waited to see who would make the next move.
But in the midst of this charged atmosphere, it's important to remember who is out there on the front lines. It's not just activists or young people, it's our families. Grandparents, who have seen decades of change and struggle, stand shoulder to shoulder with their children and grandchildren. Kids, some holding handmade signs, look up at their elders, learning what it means to stand up for what's right. The crowd is a tapestry of generations, united by a shared hope for a better future. Their presence is a powerful reminder that these protests are about more than politics. They're about protecting the people we love. We can't let them be taken, not by fear, not by force, not by the weight of injustice. As voices rise in unison, hands are raised high, and the crowd stands firm, the message is clear. We will not back down. The struggle is personal, and the stakes are too high to turn away. Tonight, the city bears witness to the courage of ordinary people, standing together in the face of extraordinary challenges.
Moments later, the mood shifted. Rocks began flying, shattering against shields and pavement.
They're arresting our people! Everyone fight back!
Yet beneath the chaos, chants calling for justice, bravery in the face of overwhelming force.
Disperse now, this is an unlawful assembly.
Despite the warnings, the pushing continued, each side inching forward. In the tense standoff, both sides edged closer, until the crowd suddenly fell silent.
All right, that's enough. Everyone, let's take a step back. Please move away from the line. We need to de-escalate the situation right now. Let's keep things calm and safe for everyone here, officers and protesters alike. No one wants to see this get out of hand. Let's all take a breath and back up, please.
As the tension slowly dissipated, the crowd began to heed the calls for calm. Protesters, some visibly shaken, took cautious steps backward, their voices softening. The tide of aggression ebbed, though the anger, grief, and demand for accountability remained just beneath the surface. In these moments, the city seemed to hold its breath. The chants for justice grew quieter, replaced by a heavy silence and the distant hum of city life resuming. Yet, even as the immediate threat of violence faded, the underlying issues that brought people to the streets lingered. The community's pain and frustration were not so easily quelled, and the desire for meaningful change persisted.
What unfolded in Los Angeles tonight is not an isolated incident. Across the country, similar scenes are playing out as communities grapple with the complexities of immigration enforcement, civil resistance, and the role of federal authorities. The city's streets have become a stage for a much larger national conversation, one that questions the balance between security and civil liberties, and the power of collective action. These protests reflect a growing movement, fueled by a desire for justice and systemic change, and a determination to have voices heard, even in the face of adversity. As the night winds down, our coverage continues. We'll remain on the ground, tracking every development and bringing you updates from both sides of this ongoing story. Stay with us as we follow the evolving situation, listen to the voices of those affected, and seek to understand the broader implications for our city and our nation.
People unite, voices demanded. The nation watches.